Hello and welcome to RS Agarwal's IAS. In this video of the Daily News Express, let us discuss the important topics appearing in the Hindu newspaper dated 31st October 2020, that is today. Let us start. The first is an article that appears in the Hindu newspaper and talks about an idea called as the Spawn Cities Mission. This caters to GS Paper 1 as well as GS Paper 3. Now, before going into what exactly the Spawn Cities mission put forth by the author talks about, let us discuss something in the backdrop. We have to understand that urban floods is a very menacing phenomena, especially in well-developed metropolitan cities like Hyderabad, Mumbai, Chennai, Bengaluru, etc. Now, if you talk specifically about Hyderabad, which is in news, we have to understand that initially, when Hyderabad was starting to get influenced because of the floods and because of the rainfall, the Post-Dam Institute for Climate Impact Research, located in Germany, it gave them a tool. The Hyderabad local authority, which is also called as the Hyderabad Metropolitan Development Authority, was given a tool by this Potsdam Institute in Germany to fight against climate change, or they built a tool for climate change adaptation. And this authority, that is the Hyderabad Municipal Development Authority, did not accept it or did not take it that time. The author is trying to say that these kind of things become very important. These kind of tools become very important because when we are suffering from a problem like urban menace, it is not easy to fight it only with the state authorities or by the local authorities. So he says every year Hyderabad faces floods, or every year Hyderabad faces torrential rainfall due to two reasons. The first reason is inadequate attention that we have paid to this problem, that the Hyderabad authorities or the government has paid to this problem. Second, he talks about the antiquated infrastructure, that the infrastructure and the drainage system and the sewage system is not that fantastic, is not that efficient, and the rapid growth of urbanization has contributed to this issue significantly, is what the author says. He also talks very nicely about how this issue is not a public versus private property issue, nor this is an issue of individual conduct versus the government action. This issue is more of a problem faced by the whole community or the whole city. So what he says is there are a few things that are being neglected by the people of Hyderabad, not just the state authorities, not just the local authorities, but also people in general. First is the issue of incremental use of wetlands in Hyderabad. As you know, if you speak about the Nizam's time or before independence or so, Hyderabad had around 200 lakes, which has gone down distinctly, but these are the areas where wetlands were located and they will be vulnerable. So the wetlands have been increasingly neglected. That is one important thing. And the second thing is the local communities of Hyderabad, or the people who have traditional rights to protect the forest and to protect the wetlands, they are also neglected. They are not empowered, and the relation between wetlands and local communities is not understood. And from a worldwide point of view, if we understand the relation the local communities play in protecting the wetlands is very important. So these things are neglected, and these things are causing the problem of torrential rains, and that rains leading to urban floods. So let us see what the author talks about as a solution. As a solution, the author says that it cannot only be provided by the government or local authority. The solution to the problem of urban flooding in Hyderabad cannot only be provided by the government or local authorities, but it requires the participation of citizens, it requires the participation of local communities, it requires the participation of civil society organizations, and these three, along with the government, can come together, converge, and form a solution to this problem. Now, here there is a relationship. The government should encourage these people, and these people should take an initiative and come forward to find a solution to this problem. Now, that solution can be in the form of the mission Spawn Cities, or the Spawn City mission that the author talks about. Now, this mission has two important objectives. One is to avoid flood risk. The first is to avoid flood risk. Second is to reduce water scarcity. The two important objectives of the mission spawn cities that the author is talking about, please don't get confused. This is not a government oriented mission or government provided mission. This is a new initiative that the author talks about. You can use it in your answers to provide innovative solutions. So the two objectives of this mission is to avoid flood risk, reduce water scarcity. First, the author says we have to understand how a sponge works. Now, if you see a sponge, if you put water on it, it will absorb, and once you squeeze it, it will provide water. So the cities should function as a sponge. They should absorb rainwater, and this rainwater should be going through the absorbed channels and should be naturally filtered by soil, and it will reach the urban aquifers like lakes or ponds in Hyderabad. And when these are enriched or these are filled, they also recharge the groundwater level, and from groundwater level the water can be used in wells, etc., and this can help in water supply. So let me write it clearly again. First, the cities should be a sponge that will absorb rainwater, and they will be sent through natural filter of the soil, and then they will fill in the urban aquifer. Now the urban aquifers will help in groundwater recharge, and groundwater recharge will provide adequate groundwater that can be used by wells or other materials to provide water supply to the city. Now this helps in having open green spaces, so the because of the water that is present in groundwater, and helps in the growth of plants or soil, etc. We can also have interconnected waterways through this. We can have well flourished channels and ponds. This will help in developing the urban ecosystem. It will help supporting urban biodiversity, and it will also provide new spaces for recreation, right? So once there is efficient recharge of the groundwater, it can be used for several things: water supply of the city, and having open green spaces, waterways, refurbishing of channels and ponds, and also it can be used for ecosystem. The urban ecosystem can be developed, the biodiversity can be better, and there will be new spaces for recreation as well. Now this mission has to run on the lines of government mandated missions like Amrut, and there is Hriday scheme. So it should be paid adequate amount of funds and adequate amount of attention by the government so that they can work well for the cities. Well, this policy should have some more important objectives. The first objective, as a part of this, I told you this whole diagram here, it should be wetland management. The most important objective should be wetland management. Second is watershed management, to take care of how the watershed facility is working and how the natural reservoirs and their watershed is functioning. Third is to have an emergency drainage plan. So when for example some kind of unfortunate incident happens and the drainage is not working properly, we should have an emergency drainage plan ready, where it should have a multi-stakeholder approach, where various disaster management authorities, the state, local authorities should come into picture. And then he says there should be a ban against terrain alteration. That is, there is a terrain, if there is a lake, there will be terrain around it, and there will be alteration. They would have built buildings, they would have had people there who are living, they would have uh, kind of spoiled the terrain there. So terrain alteration should be banned, and new kind of systems should be used, which is sub part of the terrain management, for water absorption. New kind of systems for water absorption should be used. He gives examples of retention systems, he gives examples of bioswales, he gives examples of permeable materials to be used for roads, and he gives examples of rainwater harvesting. So all these things can be used. Let me once again repeat the objectives or the subjects the policy should undertake. Which policy? The Spawn Cities mission. The first thing is wetland management. Second thing is watershed management. Third thing is emergency drainage plan, which should undertake a multi-stakeholder approach. And then fourth one, he talks about banning alteration of terrain of the natural aquifers like lakes, ponds, and rivers. He says as a part of this, new absorption systems or new methods should be used, like water retention systems, bioswales, permeable materials for construction of roads, rainwater harvesting, etc. So the way forward for this mission is that there should be no blame game. There should be no blame game. Everybody should take responsibility of this thing, and everybody should come forward to solve this very problem. Most importantly, we have to understand that nature plays a very important role in all our lives, be it for the betterment or for the disaster. So nature has to be given utmost importance than the people. Of course, if the nature is safe and nature is running in the right kind of manner, people will also be safe. Very well written article. I hope this explanation is clear, and so many points from this can be used in your geography answers or in your disaster management answers as well, GS paper 1 and GS paper 3. Let us move on to the next. This is about the Finance Commission. The article says, or the news report says, 15th Finance Commission to hand in report on November 9th. So let us learn some basic facts about 15th Finance Commission with regards to GS paper 2 and your prelims examination. So the Finance Commission is a constitutional body mentioned under Article 28. So currently there is the 15th Finance Commission running, headed by N.K. Singh. This is his picture, is Mr. N.K. Singh. So this body is set up by the constitution, or is mandated by the constitution as a federalism management body. This is just a name, it is not given in the constitution. It is in order to manage the federal structure with regards to taxes and finances between the center and the state. So the core responsibility of the Finance Commission is to evaluate the state of finances of the union and the state government. Also talk about devolution of taxes between union and state. Also lay down principles for the distribution of taxes or finances between the center and the state. Well, if you talk about the things further, there are several members in the Finance Commission. It varies from commission to commission, and the constitution does not talk about the qualifications which are required to be a part of the Finance Commission, and constitution does not talk about appointment in particular. Hence the appointments are done by the central government and the qualifications are determined by the parliament. The qualification of the members are determined by the parliament. Please remember, it's a constitutional body set up under Article 280 of the Indian Constitution. Now we have to be aware of the first set of recommendations provided by the 15th Finance Commission. The first set of recommendations, they include that the devolution or the share of taxes from center to the state should be 42%, which was initially 41%. Now it is 42% because of formation of new union territories like Ladakh and Jammu and Kashmir. Second, it takes into account several criteria for devolution. Apart from the general criteria, these include income distance, these include population, this include area, this include forest and ecology, demographic performance, tax efforts, etc. So initially these were not present, like the forest and the demographic performance would not be present, but now they have been taken into picture. We also have to understand that the Commission observed that the financing capital expenditure through off-budget borrowings is not in compliance to the FRBM Act. So the government undertakes something called as off-budget financing, which is not reported in the budget as such, not illegally or in a wrong way, but it is done in the right sense. Hence the Finance Commission has said that both center and the state government should make full disclosure of the extra budgetary or off budgetary borrowing. The Commission has also highlighted that there are several challenges in the implementation of the goods and services tax. It says that there has been a large shortfall in collection in comparison to what was portrayed. Second, he says there is always volatility in collections due to the nature of GST, and there is a lot of credit that's been accumulated with regards to integrated GST, and there is delay in refunds. So you talk about the compensation scheme. So these are several things, some basics about the Finance Commission and also the recommendations given by the Finance Commission. So I hope this concept is clear. Let us move on to the next topic. Here we are talking about an important concept with regards to elections. So as you know, there are election season in Bihar, some other places also, right? So we have to understand who is a star campaigner. This caters to GS paper 2 as well as a prelims examination. Now if you see Mr. Kamal Nath, former Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, an election commission has revoked his status as a star campaigner. Initially they had taken it down for some reason. That's not important from UPSC point of view. But let us understand who is a star campaigner. Star campaigner is someone the political party brings in to campaign, who is not exactly related to the state or not a key player in the current political setup. So if you see, Bihar elections are going on and a person from Madhya Pradesh is coming in as a star campaigner. So he is someone different. So they are defined as a person who are nominated by the parties. They are nominated by the political parties to campaign for a set of constituencies and for a set of because they are popular faces, they are prominent faces, and people can relate to them. So here Mr. Kamalnath is there. Several people call film stars, several people call cricketers, etc. So the people can relate to them and they are called as star campaigners. Now, if you talk about election commission, there is no exact definition of a star campaigner, and there are some provisions with regards to a star campaigner, but he is not exactly defined. So let us see what are the provisions with regards to star campaigner provided by the Election Commission or the Representations of People Act 1951. Please note, this is not 1950, Representation of People Act 1941. Now there are recognized political parties and they can have 40 star campaigners. There are non-recognized political parties and they can have 20 star campaigns. Apart from this, we have to note that Section 77 Clause B of the Representation of People Act 1951 says that the expenses incurred for getting this person to campaign is not deemed to be expenditure in connection with the election. Let me repeat it. Section 77B of the Representation of People Act says that expenses incurred by the campaigner shall not be deemed as the expenditure in connection with the election. In other words, the expenses will be borne by the respective political party. So what this means is that if a person is considered as a star campaigner, he has to come from XYZ place to the place where elections are happening. All these things are not a part of the election expenditure that they are doing, but these are the expenditure taken care by the political party. These are not a part of the election expenditure. It's a very simple, understandable concept. So if a person like Kamalnath is being called from Madhya Pradesh to Uttar Pradesh, of course he is traveling through a flight and he's staying in a particular place. All this is not election expenditure, but these are expenditure borne by political party that they will be subjected to audit and other things. So please understand that there is the Manual Code of Conduct, which states that the benefits availing of Section 77 of the Representation of People Act, there will be a permit that will be issued for every star campaigner that will be issued against his name. And this permit has to be stuck before in front of his vehicle so that it is prominent and understandable to the people that he is a star campaigner for this particular party, and he will be provided some kind of perks, that is a place to go quickly, or to work accordingly, so on and so forth. So this is two things that we have to understand. One more last thing that I would like to say is the star campaigner is a former prime minister, or the star campaigner is the prime minister himself, then the expenses incurred for like a bulletproof vehicle or for the guards, etc., required by the centrally appointed security personnel will be borne by the government and not by this political party. Let me repeat. If the star campaigner is a former prime minister or the current prime minister, the expenses with regards to his bulletproof vehicle and such other things will be borne by the government and not by the political party. So I hope this concept of star campaigner is clear. Please understand that anyone can get a star campaigner. 40 and 20 is the limit, but the expenses are not election expenditure, but they are political party expenditure. Let us move on to the next topic. This topic is talking about monsoons in India and disaster management. Caters to GS paper 3, also GS paper 1. Now you have to understand that southwest monsoons, which bring about 75 to 85% of rainfall to India, have officially withdrawn as provided by the India Meteorological Department. Now these southwest monsoons have done way better than what was predicted. They have given us surplus rainfall than what was predicted, and this surplus rainfall has not only been beneficial for the crops and for the farmers, but have been disastrous due to floods and rainfall. Another thing we have to understand from this editorial is that there has been a delay in withdrawal, right? There has been a delay in withdrawal which was not precisely taken into consideration, and this not considering the delay has affected the disaster management or the disaster preparedness scenario in the country, because if it's not considered about how many days the monsoon will last, how many centimeters of rainfall it would provide, so on and so forth, it can definitely affect the disaster management things. Then the editorial talks about the northeast monsoon. Now the editorial says Indian monsoon prediction system or the Indian disaster management plan with regards to monsoon is not so well equipped that these kind of things will be taken into consideration. It is important for the disaster management authorities and the prediction authorities or the forecast authorities should to undertake the impact of these kind of monsoons like the southwest and the northeast monsoon, and their significant variations should also be considered for better analysis and better prediction. So this is a very important aspect that we need to understand from UPSC point of view, that the disaster management is directly indirectly connected with the predictions done by the bodies like India Meteorological Department, and they prepare themselves in accordance to these directions given by the India Meteorological Department. But these departments are not well equipped with better technologies like the ensemble techniques used in developed countries like Japan, USA, etc. Hence, this delay in monsoon can effectively impact on our disaster management policies. And of course, new things like the northeast monsoons and their variations, if not analyzed, if not predicted in the right manner, again it will affect the disaster management scenario of the country. This is what the editorial talks about. Let us move on to the next one. Now this talks about NAFED, which is importing onions, caters to GS paper 1, 3 as well as 2 as well as your prelims examination, onionomics. Let's very simply understand this. Now the government is planning to import onions, right? Why? Because the prices have increased, right? That is why they're trying to import onions. So how does this make sense? This makes sense because if prices have increased, why have they increased? They have increased because the demand has increased and the supply is less, right? So in order to fulfill the supply point of view, the government is importing onions. And when the supply and demand are matched, the price will come to a stable position. And that's how the basic economics or the basic economic theory works. And that is why as price soar, NAFED to import onions, overseas buying by private traders to touch 32,000 tons by Deepavali, says Minister for Minister for Consumer Affairs, Mr. Piyush Goyal. So it's simple, the prices have increased because the supply is less and the demand is more. If you import onion, it will cater to the supply and it will equate the demand and the prices will be stabilized. Now let us learn a little bit about this organization called as NAFED. NAFED stands for National Agricultural Cooperative Federation of India Limited. Now this NAFED came into existence in 1958. It is registered under the Multi-State Cooperative Societies Act. So the major objectives of NAFED is to organize, promote, develop marketing, processing and storage for agriculture or horticulture or forest produce. It also works to implement or to develop the agriculture machinery, such inputs like trade, export, import, etc. So NAFED plays a very important role. This is one of those things that NAFED does. Apart from that, its basic thing is to promote cooperative marketing for agriculture produce, also horticulture produce, forest produce, to help in processing, storage, so on and so forth. Now, who are the members of NAFED? The members of NAFED include agricultural farmers, who are the main members and have the authority to say in the form of members of general body. So the farmers have a say and they come together and decide important things when it comes to the decisions taken by NAFED. I hope this concept is clear, onionomics and some point of view from NAFED perspective. Let us move on to the next topic. Here we are talking about a new report that's come out into picture. Now this report is relevant from GS paper 2 mains. This report is called as the Public Affairs Index 2020, released by Public Affairs Center. Now this Public Affairs Index released by Public Affairs Center measures cities or states based on their governance performance. It is a composite index. The nature is composite. It measures cities or states based on the governance performance. Please note that this Public Affairs Center is a not-for-profit organization. It's not a government-based report, but it's a not-for-profit organization and an altruistic survey to tell the people what exactly is happening. So the survey says in larger states of the country, Kerala is the number one and the best governed state, followed by Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka. So these four South Indian states are the best governed states in the country. Apart from this, the least governed states or the worst governed states, the lowest one is Uttar Pradesh and the second one is Bihar. So please note this. This is the large states category. If we talk about small states category, Goa is number one and well governed state, followed by Meghalaya. And least and the worst governed states when it comes to small states, is Delhi, and then there is Manipur. So let us move on to understanding about union territories. If you talk about union territories, the best governed union territory is Chandigarh, followed by Puducherry, and then Lakshadweep. Chandigarh, Puducherry, Lakshadweep, and the worst are Dadar and Nagar Haveli. There is Andaman, and there is Jammu and Kashmir. So let's quickly revisit the public affairs index. It says in the larger states, Kerala is number 1, followed by Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, and Karnataka. And then in the larger states, the lowest category, the worst performing states are Uttar Pradesh, followed by Bihar. In smaller states, Goa is number 1, followed by Meghalaya, and the worst performing is Delhi and Manipur. If you talk about union territories, Chandigarh has number 1 rank, followed by Puducherry and Lakshadweep. And when you talk about the worst performing, you have Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Andaman and Jammu and Kashmir. Alright, let us move on to the next topic. Here we are catering to some geography. There has been an earthquake, 14 die as quake strikes Turkey and Greek islands. So we will see exactly where it is located. So if you see, this is the location of Greece in the European continent. It is located in the Eastern Europe as they call it. And here is the Turkey. So the mention of Aegean Sea was very prominent yesterday. So I am bringing out you the map of Aegean Sea. So if you see the countries of Greece and Turkey, both are connected to the Aegean Sea, and Aegean Sea is connected to the Mediterranean Sea. So if you see here, the Aegean Sea is connected to the Mediterranean Sea. In the middle comes the Sea of Crete, right? So this is the geographic perspective you have to understand. We also have to note that the Aegean Sea is connected to the Sea of Mara Mara, and Sea of Mara Mara is connected to the Black Sea. So if you see the larger picture here, so it's all a connection of seas, and this is the Mediterranean region as you know it, the Greek islands and the Turkey Mediterranean region. There is Black Sea connected to the Bosphorus Strait to the Mara Mara Sea, and then there is the Aegean Sea to the Sea of Crete, and then the Mediterranean Sea. Please note that the Greece opens to Mediterranean Sea or Aegean Sea, and Turkey as well opens to Mediterranean Sea or the Aegean Sea. So this is very important. The capital of Greece, please write to me in the comment section. Of course, you have the capital of the Turkey, which is Ankara. I hope this geography map are understandable and clear. Let us move on to the next. This is with regards to defense technology for prelims examination, and this talks about the Malabar Naval Exercise. So you must have heard about Malabar Naval Exercise. So this is a trilateral exercise, trilateral naval exercise between the countries of India, Japan and US. So this time it is going to take place in Bay of Bengal, and this time Australia is also going to join the Malabar Naval Exercise. So this occurs annually, and it started since 1992 between India and USA. India and USA, and Japan joined it in the year 2015, and from now onwards Australia will also be joining it. We have to see in the future times, will Australia be a constant part of the Malabar exercise or not. This is also somehow reminding of the quad grouping, right? So these are all the simple aspects. It is usually connected in the Bay of Bengal and several other regions with regards to this. This is a very beautiful example of India, Japan and US naval cooperation. So if you talk about India and US, you apart from Malabar, you also have the Yuddha Abhyas exercise, and India, Japan, you also have the GIMEX and the Dharma Guardian and such exercises. So Malabar exercise becomes very important from your defense point of view for UPSC prelims. Please remember these important points. Let us move on to the next. Here we are talking about biodiversity or wildlife for your prelims examination again. First, let's talk about olive ridley turtles. So olive ridley turtles are the smallest and the most abundant found turtles across the regions of Pacific, Atlantic and Indian Ocean. They are found in warm waters. Pacific, Atlantic, Indian Ocean, they are found in warm waters. The olive ridley turtles are vulnerable according to IUCN. They are found in the Appendix 1 of CITES, and they are placed in the Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. So they have highest protection in India. They are vulnerable according to IUCN and Appendix 1 of CITES. Now we have to understand about a concept called as Aribada. Aribada with regards to olive ridley turtles is where mass nesting takes place. They come and they do mass nesting, and thousands of females lay eggs on the beaches. They lay eggs on the beaches. This is called as Aribada. If a question is asked, which among the following turtle species related to Aribada, you can talk about olive ridleys. And in India, specifically in the Rishikulya beach and Gahirmatha beach of Odisha, this Aribada takes place, and they usually come to India a lot of times. So please understand about this olive ridley turtles. Apart from this, let us learn another important concept today. This is with regards to wild boars. Now, wild boars are not specifically mentioned from UPSC point of view, but what we have to learn is what are vermins. So, if you talk about vermins, vermins are something like pests or like a nuisance for which destroy the livestock or the crops. And these vermins can be any animal or a bird or like an insect. Now, several states have declared some animals as vermins. Now, how do they do this? They write to the central government saying, I want XYZ animal to be declared vermin for XYZ period of time in XYZ areas. And then it will be declared vermin. So, here what has happened is this wild boar has entered the house of a family and has, uh, they tried to attack the family, but they have narrowly escaped. And the forest officials, in front of forest officials, they have been shot. Now you must be thinking, how can a wild animal be shot? If a wild animal is a threat, it can be shot, but then you have to also have to understand the concept of vermins. Now when an animal is declared vermin, they can be shot, or in language of wildlife, they can be culled. Culled means they can be killed on purpose. So if you talk about vermins, we have seen some animals like nilgai, animals like pigs, rhesus macaw, there is crows, and there are fruit bats which have been declared vermins because they are not just a threat to human life but also to the crops, to also to the produce. Hence the state has the authority to kill them, or individual have the authority to kill them. Now if you talk about Kerala and wild boars, Kerala has sought permission to declare to declare wild boars as vermins. They are yet to get permission. Now if you give some examples, Bihar has also sought permission to declare nilgai and wild pigs as vermins in XYZ number of districts. There is Uttarakhand that has asked for notification to declare wild pigs as vermins. Himachal Pradesh has almost got the permission to declare rhesus macaw as vermins, and there are several other districts or several other states that are undertaking this idea. So please note that the vermins are an important part of the uh, Wildlife Protection Act, and write to me in the comment section about which schedule are they mentioned. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are so many schedules. Write to me in which section do we mention vermins predominant. Well, that's it for today's discussion. I hope you enjoyed it. If there are any doubts or discrepancies, write to me in the comment section. Until next time, take care. Bye bye.